It's 8:30. Welcome to Bloop.
Like your thing to show me the clouds. I love it.
I never mean to do that, but it doesn't.
Yeah, you do.
Automatically. I've got a clock sitting right here so I can keep track. No, I look weird. Okay. I think I'm on.
You're all pixeling.
Okay. Did you guys miss us? It's been 2 weeks. I mean, we haven't been on for 2 weeks. I missed you guys. Seems very strange that we haven't done live.
Rebecca was on vacation here.
Yeah, I was in California for 2 weeks seeing my son, and it was a lot of fun. Beautiful in California. It snowed up in Lake Tahoe where we were, and then there was this giant windstorm, and I thought hurricane weather in Florida was bad with the wind, but holy crap, my son lives in like the valley, and just the wind that was coming through, like his trash cans got blown like into a field. It was it was crazy. I was like, wow, this is like hurricane weather. No rain, it was just wind. Crazy.
I had a friend, she lived in Alaska for a while, and there was like some hurricane we were getting, and she was like, are you guys okay? And I was like, yeah, we're going to have gusts, every now and again, 60, 75 mile an hour gusts, but for the most part, sustained winds, they'll be like no biggie. And she was like, oh, we get like continual 70 plus mile an hour winds off this mountain. I feel like my house is going to fall down like half the time. I was like, oh,
yeah.
I couldn't live with like winter. No.
That's what it was like. You go inside and you're like holding on to the side of the house. Like that's how bad it was. And we were like, what in the heck is this? Crazy stuff. And it was funny because
I just can't.
Go ahead. It was funny because my soon-to-be daughter-in-law's dad was saying, so how are the houses built in Florida with all the hurricanes and stuff like that? Then we had that wind thing, and I was like, bro, you don't need to be asking me anything about the hurricane winds in Florida. This was crazy.
Yeah. No. I was like, I just can't live in a place that's trying to kill you all the time. So like Alaska with the freezing temperatures and no sunshine and like sustained 70 mile an hour winds all winter. No.
Yeah, exactly. I don't know. And it was cold. I mean, cold for me. I mean, I'm a Florida girl, so I'm sure in Illinois you're used to it, but
no,
not me. I'm not.
No, that's why my character literally was kind of based off of that aspect of me. Like I couldn't wait to get out. Yeah. I never acclimated. So
yeah, it was cold. And I definitely, I was like, wow, it's just so cold. I gotta go. I gotta get out of here. But beautiful. It's beautiful. Just cold.
I visited Alaska. It was gorgeous, but I was just like, it was a little scary.
That is one place I want to go. I want to go to Alaska. I've never been there.
It really was beautiful. I say totally visit. I just couldn't.
Yeah, no, don't live there. No, I can't.
Well, they just are tough. They're just tough, like strong people. I think I obviously am a wimp. I can't hang. But
if you bring those people that are used to cold and all of that here, they are like, how can you handle the heat? I mean, it's just the opposite for them. I'd rather be hot. I don't know. I would rather be hot than to be cold because I feel like I could move around, at least I wouldn't feel like I was just stuck somewhere and having to like, I don't know, rub things together to keep warm. I don't know. I would rather be hot. I would freeze to death. Oh, what happened to her? Well, she couldn't move because she was so cold, so she just froze to death. That would be me.
All right. Well, I gave we were just chatting 5 minutes here while we give Instagram a chance to let people know that we are going live. Tonight's episode in Bloop, we will be talking about the upper YA fantasy book, Daughter of the Pirate King. It's the first book in duology. And then Rebecca's going to be continuing our discussion on our content rating system that we follow here at Bloop, that we pull from, that we use to kind of help when we give book reviews, right? Because here at Bloop, we think that readers have a right to know what they're reading. Have a right to know what they're reading before they spend all their time, money, and, you know, attention and emotions getting invested in something that winds up, you know, shocking the heck out of them, and maybe not in the best way.
I'm going to get this wrong, possibly. I'm going to try not to get it wrong, but I might get it wrong. We want to try to enable readers and is it enable
power
and empower authors, right? Or is it empower readers? Which one is it?
Empower readers
and enable authors. Did I get backwards?
I don't think we use enable.
What do we use? I know it was an E word.
We're empowering readers through information, like giving them the facts about what's in a book without spoiling it, and then at the same token, we are helping authors find their ideal reader.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I feel like, I don't know. I knew I was going to get it wrong somehow. But anyway, go ahead. Go for your review. Let's go.
Okay. So, Daughter of the Pirate King is by Tricia Levenseller. And I hadn't read anything from her previously. It was marketed YA, and so I figured, okay, I'm going to determine if this is younger YA, upper YA, or even adult, because we all know part of why we decided we wanted to do this content rating system is we are finding that there's been a lot of crossed lines in YA in recent years when it comes to sex, violence, drug use, theme of the book, all of that. So this is kind of what, actually this book has been on my TBR for a long time. I think if I would have spent a little bit more time, like, I don't know, I just wish I knew that there was a little bit more, like, romance in it. There was romance in it, so, like, but it wasn't really, how do I say this? You know I love love. So there was more romance in this book than I expected, and I think if I had known that, I probably would have picked up the book sooner. But I kept, like, pushing it off. But I really enjoyed it. But here, let's the first line of the synopsis. There will be plenty of time for me to beat him soundly once I've gotten what I came for. So this book is about pirates, a female captain of a pirate ship. I should say. So it's kind of like a gender bent, like Captain Sparrow, so to speak, how it was kind of marketed. But for me, I'm like, this character is strong, cunning, sassy, bad A, who has no problem slitting a throat, but then at the same time can show, like, justice and fairness and empathy and compassion, like, so she's got it all. So she is sent on a mission by her father, the Pirate King, to retrieve a portion of an ancient map. Okay, so she's only 17. Her name is Alosa. So she allows herself, she sets up this whole scheme. She allows herself to be captured by her enemies. And it gives her the perfect opportunity to then search the ship. So there's more than just, you know, this pirate crew that she's captured on the ship. There's more than them that stand in her way, right? There's an unexpected, clever, and unfairly attractive first mate, Raiden. Okay, Raiden will be a book boyfriend, I promise you. He will be a book boyfriend. So it's kind of funny to see the dynamics in their relationship. But before I go any further,
you said unfairly attractive.
I kind of don't give me credit. I'm kind of playing off of her synopsis a little bit. So without, like, being boring and reading it, trying to give you. So I'm sharing what the author already shared in the synopsis without giving spoilers, because we're all about not giving spoilers. So I give this book 4 solid stars, maybe a little, like 4.3, something like that. I don't really know how I feel about all those points. I give it a strong 4 stars because things I really enjoyed, first of all, I listened to it on audiobook. As you guys know, neurologically, I do most of my reading via audiobook. The audiobook was well done. I really enjoyed the fact that they gave Alosa, who has like fire red hair, kind of like a mild Irish accent. And the plot, the characters, the twist, the dialogue, the pacing, the romance, all of it just really worked well. And I felt like it was a great, unique story. Things that were not my cup of tea, it was quite violent. So I'll go into that in a minute when I talk about the rating at the end here, when I would overall give it the content rating. But then again, so keywords, if you are into swashbuckling pirates, the ocean, enemies to lovers, forbidden romance, hidden dagger, hidden identity, smart and strong cast of female characters, because Alosa is not just a captain of any old pirate ship. Her whole crew, for the most part, is women. Pirate politics, love scenes that are nothing more than a passionate kiss, the smolder, sirens, swoon-worthy kisses, who can you trust, morally gray heroes, loyal family, found family, gender swap Jack Sparrow, and like Pirates of the Caribbean feel, then this book is for you. It is YA, but it reads older YA. So I gave this a content rating of YA 16 with a sexual content of 2. And here's why. So there is a mention of, so the ship that she gets captured by, the whole crew is like younger guys. So older teens to very early 20s, which is relatively young. So there's a lot of mentioning of these young pirates, like with visiting whorehouses. There's moderate, which you expect pirates to do. They're on sea for a long time, whatever. Moderate violence, insinuation of wanting to rape and or having raped women before, mildly sexually charged comments, mild curse words. There's murder. I mean, it does not like sly away from like unaliving people like that, and offering a little description about it. There are some non-sexual nudity parts. There's a few acts of undressing people, and that part's described, but not so much like talking about the body. And then mild flashbacks of parental abuse, so like domestic violence, and then like a narcissistic, like classic narcissistic father. And then there is a passionate kiss, but like nothing, too crazy. So that's why I gave it YA 16. So, do you have any comments, questions, or would you read this book?
It sounds like something I would read, which I don't really like a whole lot of young adult stuff, but if it's written well and it sounds like you enjoyed it, I would probably read it, because there's I like a lot of murder. No. I shouldn't say that.
It did not.
Unaliving is my jam. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm going to be talking about book 2. I know next week is your week for a book, but the week after I'll be talking about the second book. And like the violence even kicks it up even more like a notch. I was like, oh my gosh, what am I reading? So we'll talk about that next time.
So you said it's a duology or a trilogy?
Duology.
Okay, so it's just 2 books. Okay.
Yeah, and so unfortunately, I didn't read this right when it came out, so there's like a second book, so it's a little bit, like the title of book 2 is a little bit spoilery, but,
And you said there's romance, so just a little bit of romance, or does book 2 get more into the romance?
Book 2 gets a little bit more into it. Book 1, it's like a slow burn. It's like a slow burn for forbidden. Can you trust them? Can you not? Type of situation on both ends. They both have pretty like traumatic pasts, like especially Alosa being the daughter of the Pirate King, and what he did to like I said, they didn't really shy away from discussion of like domestic violence and like what he did to his daughter to train her.
I like traumatic pasts also.
Yeah, but it's not going to get as crazy as an adult book would, but I feel like that's why I'm making it upper YA, because the themes are there, and even though they didn't get like super graphic, they got enough to paint a pretty good picture that there was some bad stuff.
So why didn't you give it a 5? Was it because of the violence for you?
Yeah. I mean, it was on like it wasn't, it made sense for the pirates and whatnot. I didn't give it a 5 only because, I don't know, maybe I was missing a little bit more romance, or maybe, I don't know. I felt like some of the characters read a little bit older than what they were supposed to be. That was a little bit frustrating. But yeah, I think for me, naturally, it's just in terms of when I give a star rating, it's about like my enjoyment of the overall story and everything. So I thoroughly enjoyed it, but there were times that were a little bit harder because I was like, ooh, what? Why?
Tick down a little bit. Yeah.
That's like my thing. You guys will get to know. I'm just like, when I get to a scene, I'm like, why? Totally appropriate for the book. So I'm not knocking it. I give my star ratings and about how much I enjoyed something, and I usually give books 4 or 5. So it's just how much I enjoy it. I think for me, like a 5-star, like that book lasts for me for at least days after I read it, and I will think about the characters a little bit, and I immediately picked up book 2, which is good. So I think 4 stars is great. You know,
that's a good sign. Well, I mean, I was excited about your 4-star because I know that you're a little rough with the star ratings sometimes. Not rough as far as, you know, it's just, I feel like when you give a 4 or a 5-star, it's like pretty accurate. So yeah. So I was just curious as to why it wasn't a 5, but thank you.
I would say there's just nothing wrong with it. It just was just like I said, the violent parts for me were a little bit not my cup of tea. And then of course, like just the characters staying with me for longer. They didn't quite stay with me for a long time. But
well, I'm definitely gonna put this on my TBR because it sounds like something I'd want to read.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So, Broken Step Studio was asking us, what is a book boyfriend? Basically, a book boyfriend is a male main character in a book that if you were to meet them in real life, you'd want to make them your boyfriend. But, you know, we're married women, so it's not real. These are fake, fictional boyfriends, so it's just fun. It's just like a fun thing to be like, hey, I would date him.
Right.
If I was like young and single and, you know, in their fantastical world. Yeah. Or if I was in their fantastical world, I would go seek them out. So.
Right. If you were a pirate on a pirate ship, it would totally be your jam.
Yeah. If I want to, yeah. Ryden, he's a good man. He's, like, it's funny, like the comments that they make. It's so funny. Guys and girls are so different, right? So when like guys are described in books, like if they've got good arms and shoulders, like the shoulder situation.
Oh yeah, shoulders are great. Shoulders and smiles
and like
and abs.
And like hold the shave, please. Keep the facial hair. Hold the shave, like so.
Well, yeah, and you'll find too that there's a lot of it's fan art where they go out and they get so involved in these books that they go out and they find pictures to match what was in their head when they were reading the book, and they start creating all these characters of what they imagined.
Yeah, and I'm sure y'all, if you haven't, you can look up ACOTAR fan art. A Court of Thorns and Roses.
Yes,
Woo!
I have.
There are a lot of NSFW images, not safe for work, so careful.
Not safe for work. I haven't heard that before. Wow.
Yeah,
that's a new one to me.
Safe, but you know, like you have to be careful where you open these images or whatnot. I'm old, but I learned that on the Instagram.
Oh, I'm older and I just learned it now, so
listen. I didn't know what it meant at first, and I was like, oh, I was not prepared. Now I know what it means. So
well, we learned what voyeur was the other night, right? So
no, Hugh cow. I learned.
Oh, yeah, Hugh cow.
No, voyeur. Yeah.
No one look that up. Don't do it. Don't.
Yes. What Rebecca said. Traumatic.
Don't look it up. No.
yeah, a little traumatic for me.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, Voyeur is tame compared to what Hugh Cow is, so don't even try. Anyway.
Yeah. That was a
So,
tangent. Ron, you're going to have to cut that out in our shorts.
yes. Well, I'm going to move. We're at like 10
Yeah,
minutes
it's time.
till. 10 minutes till. So I'm going to move right into the content ratings. Last time we talked about content ratings, the last thing I talked about was young adult 16. So I'm going to move into what sweet and sour adult is, which is 17 and up. This category includes adult themes. Violence and drug use may be present, but are not both realistic and extreme or persistent. Sexual acts may be implied, but are generally fade to black. There may be uses of explicit language, but none of the harsher sexually derived words. There are no restrictions on non-sexual nudity. There may be mildly crude or suggestive humor and no horror moments. And generally, like as far as a sexual content rating, I don't think we get above a 2.
Correct. So the way I would describe this, right, is more like a Hallmark type of situation where like sometimes the storyline could be a hard adult theme, but it's not going to be graphic,
right,
or like super dark or anything like that. And the same token too, Hallmarky could be like super light and cheesy and like whatnot, you know, but again, it would be more with like adult characters.
Right. So the book that I just reviewed the last time we were on, It's a Wonderful Midlife Crisis, I rated it as sweet and sour 17 because it was a little bit more adult content as far as the paranormal stuff and just things that were going on in the book. So I mean, it could have fallen in with the 16, but I felt like since it was a little bit more mature, and especially since it was sort of written for an adult, it's an adult book. But the content as far as explicit language, explicit sexual content and all of that, since that wasn't present, I gave it a sweet and sour 17 rating.
Okay.
So I just wanted to give an example of what sweet and sour was. But of course, this will all be on our website too, so they can read it a little bit more in detail when you see what our ratings are.
A book that comes to mind for me that comes out as like sweet and sour 17 would be like The Cheat Sheet by Sarah Adams. Language is super squeaky clean. There's no curse words. There is fade to black, meaning like there's not even descriptive. There's no descriptive kissing or anything like foreplay or anything like that. It's like the couple's kissing and then it might insinuate that something happened, but there you don't see anything. The characters are adults and, you know, like, so the characters are in adult things. They're business owners or, you know, stuff like that. So I feel like it wouldn't quite be young adult because of the age of the characters. And then some of the things that happen with just like the adult life. So it's still relatively sweet, so to speak, like again, like with language, violence, sex, but you know, it deals with adults. So I think that to me is a good example of like a SAS 17, a sweet and sour adult.
Right.
Did you read that? Did you read it?
Yes, I did. I read the cheat sheet. Mm-hmm.
So you know, right?
It was good. I liked it. Yeah.
Do you agree?
I agree. It wasn't, it was still sweet. And I agree, like a 17-year-old could read it, mature 16, whatever. But yes, yeah, I would agree with that. I was just trying, because sweet and sour, this is a new, like.
It's something that is being played with because there's so much controversy over the term like clean, what like clean books mean, because some people take offense to the word clean, even though that's not like what it means in terms of whatever. But clean being, it was in reference to specific, like whatever. It's just controversial. So trying to come up with, and I also didn't think fade to black was appropriate because then it's only addressing the sexual content. It's not addressing language and it's not addressing violence. So coming up with something that kind of incorporated. And that's why I think sweet and sour, like you can have books that are like super all happy, cheesy Hallmark, but then Hallmark also addressed, like, remember those Lifetime movies that were like abusive boyfriends or like bulimia or like hard topics, right? But they still approached it in a way that didn't like, I don't know, didn't traumatize you in the process.
Right.
So
exactly. Another book that we've reviewed that hasn't aired yet is, Redeeming Love. And I also think that Redeeming Love could fit in Sweet and Sour because it's dealing with seriously hard topics. But there's not a whole lot of description involving, I mean, it paints a picture, but there's not this giant, just descriptive words that are going on describing these horrible situations. So you kind of get the idea, but it's not colorful with language and all of that stuff or sexual content. So the next category I'm going to talk about is adult. And this is for ages 18 and up. And the spice rating, sexual content rating can be anywhere from a 3 all the way up to a 5. And this may contain explicit language and adult themes, includes coarse language, intense or persistent violence, nudity, drug or alcohol abuse, or other adult themes. So that parents are counseled to take this rating very seriously. Detailed descriptions of physical interactions of sexual or violent nature, beyond fade to black, and then of course there could be search for trigger warnings because there could be additional triggers related to this rating.
And we generally really typically see trigger warnings, I would feel like, in a dark romance or horror or things like that. So I think if you're entering that realm, Rebecca and I aren't necessarily providing trigger warnings. That's definitely something I will not be reading. But maybe eventually when Bloop expands or whatever, maybe we'll have readers who read that genre a lot, who are comfortable sharing all of that.
Well, even Hooked by Emily McIntyre that I reviewed a month ago or so. I mean, that was a dark romance and it did have triggers in there. And the author even put them out on her page. So, I mean, that's kind of what we mean. It was a lot of hard topics, like, a lot of abuse and stuff like that.
It's just difficult, and we shared with that, but that's why we think the content rating is also very helpful, because triggers, I mean, you have to want to go look for them. The author has to be willing to provide them. It's also hard to kind of try to determine what everybody's triggers might be, because, the author might leave something out, and then a reader might get upset, like, hey, that was triggering, but the author's like, I listed 10. I don't know how many else, not to be rude or whatever, but what I'm trying to say is they might be trying to be so careful and cautious for everybody and still miss out. So the one that I think we are, I'm going back and forth, hemming and hawing, is do we create like an explicit rating? Do you know what I'm saying? Where it's like a majority of the book is harsh language, and a majority of the book are...
We do have a sexual content of a 5, which is basically erotica.
Yes, but I'm talking about in terms of violence and language too.
Violence of language. Oh, I mean...
So that's why I'm trying to wonder. I'm like, do we create that explicit? Because, I mean, we have it for the movies where it's like, what is it in the movies now? They changed it. It used to be X-rated when I was younger, but that's not what it's called now.
Well, X-rated would be erotica. But you mean horror movies are usually rated R.
No, there's something between R and
NC-17.
No, it's like...
Well, there's not rated, NR, not rated. I don't remember. I know what you're trying to say though. Like, I don't know. Maybe somebody can write in. One of our viewers can type in a comment if you guys know what it is.
Rated X. I think it's rated X. So
rated X.
It says rated X, and that's not necessarily. That just means like you're not allowed to read. You're not allowed to enter unless you are 17 or 18, depending on your state, with ID. I could be wrong though.
I thought X-rated was like porn?
X rated, but this is just a rating of X.
Oh.
So it's not. Maybe NC-17.
I think, well, because I've gone, when I was younger, I would go to...
Yeah, now it used to be X, but now no one gets 17 and under admitted, and NC-17 rated motion picture is one parents would consider patently too adult for their children. So no children can be, It doesn't mean pornographic necessarily. The rating simply signals that the content is appropriate only for an adult audience. So it can be given the NC rating based on what we're doing: violence, sex, drugs, language.
Right.
So, and then it's like, but it's too strong of themes just to be given an R. Like, it's too strong.
I don't know. We'd have to talk about that more, because I think I personally think we cover it with the adult and the, well, I know it's sexual content. I'm just trying to
think of like helping readers further, like, again, the whole trigger warning thing, like knowing, like, because an adult book can still be very different than, like, you know what I'm saying, like a super dark, full of trigger adult book, you know? I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I have read some of those, what was the Pretty Girls? Pretty Girls? I forget who the author is.
Yeah.
That was pretty.
You and Savannah were talking, and I was like, that is a book I would want to know for sure.
That was a book. I mean, it wasn't super graphic, but it was about, like, unaliving, and, like, it was a murder mystery, and it was about snuff films, and these girls were getting taken. So there was some heavy description, it was a heavy topic. It was a good book, though, like 5-star read for me.
Yeah, I'm not saying it's not a judgment thing. It's just
I know, but you're talking about content, and that was a heavy book.
Have violence, language, and or sex and drug content that is more than half the book.
Yeah, so there was no sexual content, but there was criminal activity that was beyond what anybody should.
Like Finley Donovan, right? We both read Finley Donovan.
Yeah.
That should be an adult book. There's some language, there's some description, there's unaliving, but I don't feel like that is like explicit, you know?
No, and there was humor involved too.
Right. So to me, like, that adult book, and you're putting that next to, like, this book you're talking about, I feel like.
Yeah. This is heavy. Like Verity. I mean, even though Verity, it wasn't a whole lot. I mean, I don't know. What would you rate Verity by Colleen Hoover? I mean, I will say that Pretty Girls was way worse than Verity, but as far as content.
Verity, I just think it was more like a shock value and stuff, but I feel like in terms of it being, we'd have to, like, we're going to have a meeting about it. Verity,
more to come.
Verity mess. I was angry for days.
Well, I was too. I was
for days.
Wanted to throw that book across the room more than once. But 5 stars again, and Verity was great. I liked it. You either loved it or you hated it. You hated it. I loved it.
I wouldn't say I hated it. I wouldn't say I hated it. It just, for me, it just wasn't something I enjoyed. Like, I don't pick books like that. I don't enjoy reading that.
It gave you the
and I think, as a mom of young girls and stuff, it was a very.
Oh yeah, that was it. It wasn't a lot of hard stuff in there that was hard to read, even for me. It was just like, oh wow.
Yeah, and it was like, I shared this before, like, I read and I get very invested in characters, and it was just like I can't just flip a switch because like information changes all of a sudden. So, not to give any spoilers, but I was just like, I can't just flip that switch, and I don't know. This isn't about Verity, y'all. This is like, we want to hear from you. Like, if you feel like there should be a further rating, like they do for
Maybe we
movies
should.
that kind of like how do I describe this? Like, in movies, right? You have adult movies, and then you have those adult movies like I haven't seen, but like give me a director who's like I didn't see it, but I heard like is it Martin Scorsese?
I don't know. What movie are you talking about?
Like,
and I'm really bad with directors' names. Like I don't know. Like you say director, I'm thinking M. Night Shyamalan. That's the only one I can think of right now.
That's like a Django Unchained. Is it Django Unchained or something? I didn't watch it, but like
I didn't watch that.
Or just
the movies I don't necessarily like to watch are horror, like very, very violent and horror, like lots of blood and gore. Like I can't with that. I'm better
that would be helpful, like with the genre,
Yeah.
right? That would be helpful for people. So the goal is to try to help readers choose a book based on content ratings, because they'll already have the genre available to them to look into, and then coupled with the content rating. But what we're discussing, guys, and we want to hear back from you too, is if you feel like there would need to be another separation. So like we have like the sweet and sour. So like it's going to be a little bit maybe on the cheesier side, very like non-descriptive, like like even harder themes. You're not going to like get all depressed and like overwhelmed and be mad at the book for days probably. But then you have adult, which is like a lot of a lot of books that fit in that category. But then I feel like there's like that separate category where it's like there's just either an obscene amount of violence.
Maybe we can do like suspense thriller or mystery thriller or something like that, because I think that we're talking about thrillers. Like we would talk about a thriller movie, but maybe not, because then of course if it gets gory, we're talking about horror. So we could say horror, which I'm not going to read that stuff. So right there, not going to get a review from me at all. Thrillers.
No, because it's not just thrillers. There's a lot of like dark romance books that will like deal with sexual assault and like battery, but you don't just hear about it, you see it, and like just really a lot of hard, I don't know, so maybe, I don't know, we'll talk.
Yeah, we'll talk about it. But anyway, we are out of time, guys. We went at like 7 minutes over, so we did better this time. Like last time we went way over.
Well, we did give like 5+ minutes to let people come in, so.
Well, it's true. That's true. So we should give ourselves a break. But make sure you guys follow our Instagram. Make sure you follow us on YouTube and subscribe to our channel. We're also on Rumble. We are on TikTok. We are on Facebook. Yeah, so make sure you follow us. And
we post the reviews.
Yes, and we have our website where we blog about our reviews that you guys see live, and we also have our content ratings out there. So make sure you and I've said it before, subscribe to our YouTube channels, because that really helps us out. And soon we'll hope to be going live from YouTube. So hopefully next week we can do that. I don't know. I mean, I don't want to promise anything. But anyway, that's hopefully going to happen next week. So we'll see. Anyways, until then.
Yes. Until then, happy reading. Comment below. Let us know what you're reading this week, or what your next read's going to be. And can't wait to see you next week.
Yes. Until then, see you later. Bye.
Have a good one, guys.